Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Friday Forum on this August 12th. Hope everyone's had a great week and looking forward to a great weekend. We've got a great show today. It's a day in the life of agency and in-house PR. So whether you are early in your career or have progressed a little more than that, we've got something for you. Our topic is going to go into agency experience and how that plays into succeeding in an in-house role, and what's the difference between going straight to agency or going in-house. So we've got a great panel as well. I'm going to bring up our moderator. Her name is Adriana Gonzalez Sebastian. She is a member of our DE&I committee. She is a graduating public relations senior from San Jose State, and she works full-time at Hartnell College and interns part-time at Precious Stone PR. She is a public relations design coordinator there. So she's gotten very active in PRSA Silicon Valley, and she is a very active member of our DE&I committee. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about public or PRSA Silicon Valley, I encourage you to visit our website. And welcome to everyone that is joining us today. We'd love to hear where you are joining us from, and please feel free to drop in your questions or comments from wherever you are joining, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter. So without further ado, Adriana, I'll give it to you. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully you're staying cool. I'm in Salinas, so it's getting a little hot to this. So I don't know where everybody is at, but Foster, thank you for joining us, Gerald. Okay, so today we have two great speakers, a little bit more about their day in the life, and will tell us about the difference in-house. So without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker is Megan, who is a senior director doing external communications at Cell. Megan Fitland has more than 20 years of experience working with private and various sectors, including nonprofit, corporate, enterprise, and consumer technology, goods, automobile, and healthcare industries. Welcome, Megan. Thank you for. And then our second guest today is Milo, and her she is a senior account executive at I, and Ray is an experienced PR professional with gaming and tech. So who said PR couldn't be fun and amazing, right? And okay, they are a senior account executive at 42 West B, where they are a key member of the gaming and publishing titles and tentpole projects, drive content creation and success reporting. They are passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion workplace, and strive to create more space for people with marginalized identities in the industry. Joining us both. Okay, so let's get started. So you, Karen, for introducing me. And okay, so this question is for Ray and Megan. You both started your PR careers in agency. You PR, a PR agency at the start instead of going. So let's start with Ray.
Yeah, and thank you so much for the introduction. Also, just a reminder, my name is Ray and my pronouns are they, them. Yeah, so with PR, I didn't know that I was going to go into PR straight out of college. I knew I wanted to do something in the communications field, and one of my really good friends at the time was doing PR in-house at a gaming publishing company, and I thought what they were doing was really fun and interesting. And I kind of looked to them for advice on how to start my own career in PR. And it seemed like a lot more opportunities for some more like entry level jobs on how to get into PR was in agency more so than in house. There's a lot more opportunities for me to go that way. And just things for me to learn. I was really attracted to agency because it just gave me a lot of different companies and clients that I could work with and be able to learn and start my career that way.
Thank you. Megan?
Great. Hi, everyone. So I started my career at the agency level, dating myself a bit, but I started in 2000, right at the big internet boom. I went to school in Arizona and came back to Silicon Valley just because of the job opportunities. But really, I mean, agency was just pretty much the only thing I really thought about. People that I met, what I learned in school, I have a degree in PR. It was all about the agency lifestyle. And it was just pushed like that's how you start your career. And so that was the likely and choice for me. And I found a boutique agency in Alameda, which is the East Bay of San Francisco, and learned a lot. And I'm really glad I went through the agency at first because you just get to kind of feel like what kind of sectors you want to be in, and you have a very diverse clientele, and you learn a lot of just the basics that sometimes you just don't get in the classroom. So I'm really happy with my agency experience.
Thank you. Yeah. So as students or as we're graduating, we have to figure out right where we want to go, and agency or in-house. So thank you for both for sharing, and we'll go a lot more into depth with all of these pros and cons of choosing either. So what are some of the benefits of going into the agency first?
I can take that. I think, for me, I found that you really get to learn the basics. So things like clip reports, right? And how you communicate that to your clients, how you get on the phone to pitch media. You're learning from people on your team that are, 1 year in, 20 years in. So you get a lot of diverse experience and a lot of diverse mentorship. And I felt like at the agency level, you really get that introduction to PR, and it helps you kind of learn client services and how to work with bigger teams of individuals.
Yeah, I would say this. Yeah,
Sorry.
I think yeah, going into agency, a lot of benefits into doing that first is just the diversity and certain people. If you go in house, I think I can only imagine. I've never been in house. Like things get one way to do things, but I really enjoy learning so many different ways to kind of do the same thing and goal, and just ways to iterate on it and make processes better.
Thank you for both for that. And so we know that a PR professional, could be very different depending on the day, but in general, can you walk us a little bit more on what a typical day in an age, perhaps how many clients can people expect to have, or, a little bit more for struggling?
Yeah, so for me at agency, I would say, yeah, it is really different every single day, but I think the categories of work that a lot of media relations, client services, writing, and measurement and reporting. So also just like reading and keeping up with the news, and just getting new ideas. But yeah, I could be writing a press release or a blog one day or working of an event another day. It really depends on what's happening. And it's all fun. I think agency life is really fun that I can just work on different announcements every single day and just different clients and what they're doing and all the cool things. And I'm never bored. It's nice.
Thank you. Megan, you have a long history of being in the agency world in-house. What made you decide to make this pivot?
Great question. So I had spent about 13 years at the agency level, and I had a lot of great experience. I got to work on automotive companies, healthcare companies. I always had tech in my background, or had at least 1 to 2 tech clients. But what I really liked was just kind of the broad industry expertise and looking at different sectors. And so about 13 years in, I had some personal stuff that happened, like to my health, and just kind of just overworked. Agency life is hard, and when you are raising a family and your priorities change a bit, sometimes you have to look back at things and see where you want to go. And so I had a lot of soul searching and looked at my time and my family's time and thought, you know what, I think I'm going to look in house, that I won't have a lot of responsibilities with like new business and client service. And I took a manager position, so I actually took a couple level down, and looked at what I could do in house and how I could have a better work-life balance. So I made that move, and I went further in my career. I started on the product side with NetApp, and then I went to corporate communications. And then I have done crisis communications for HP. And then right now I'm doing external communications for Zelle, in the financial services sector. So I think overall, PR is very stressful. We all know that. There's deadlines, there's crises, there's issues and so forth. But I think, you look at your life and you look at what you want to learn and where you want to go. And 13 years at the agency level was fantastic. I'm glad I made the move, just for work-life balance. Not to say that it's not stressful in house, it is, but sometimes you have to look at kind of your levels and your responsibilities and what you want to do. And it worked for me. The agency life, I would go back in a heartbeat, if it was a great opportunity and it worked for what I want to do in my career. I think there's just a lot of benefits in both, and I'd encourage people to look at both.
Again, and this next question is also for you, but I know you were touching a little bit more in the responsibilities of an agency and how perhaps there is an in-house. But can you walk us a little bit more on what it is like, and would it be great? Would it also be great if you can touch your comms teams is today, and what are what you do now compared to when you were an agency?
Okay, great. So you were cutting a little bit out, so I apologize, but I think the question was, what my day looks like and how it's a bit different from the agency. Is that correct? Perfect. So I began my day reading a lot. I think as all PR professionals probably do. That's really important that I solely focus on the news for at least the first half hour, 45 minutes. I connect with my agency team. I work with a consumer agency by the name of Huge, and they're just fantastic individuals. They're on the East Coast, so they're well into their morning, which I think works well, and connect with them. Also, I think the biggest change when you go in-house and is that you still have clients, right? And you have these internal stakeholders and these internal clients, and they're not PR people and they're not marketing people. They're the C execs, right? They're the CEO. They're the chief risk officers. They're the product managers. It just kind of runs like various individuals. And so really being able to connect with them, to show them the value of PR, to ask them the questions that will help you do your job better, was a big part of what I do, right? And there's so many meetings, there's so many touch bases, there's just opportunities to really learn from them and partner with them. And so while you don't think client services is happening internally, it is. You're all working as one, and you're all bringing different expertise to the table. And so you may not have your clients that know PR, but you're their trusted advisor. So it's a bit different, but pretty much, we're all doing client services, whether that's for our consumer audience, our business audience, or our clients or our internal stakeholders. I think
Thank you so much for that, Megan. I appreciate it. It looks like we lost Adriana, so she's having some technical difficulties today. I'm Paul. I know some of you guys have seen me from behind the scenes. So while we're waiting for Adriana, I see Judith has a question for Ray. She said, could Ray talk about how she evolved from a beginner to a more senior professional? What happens to test a young professional? And do they know that they are making progress? What are the observations that tell a professional they are really right for agency?
Yeah, definitely. And then thank you, Judith, for the question. Just a reminder to everyone, my pronouns are they, them. I think evolving from a beginner to a more senior professional of like where I am right now, I really appreciate just like working and giving it my all and then really getting all of the feedback and asking for a lot of feedback from folks, and making sure that I'm always thinking about growth and what are my next growth opportunities and what to work on and consistently improving myself. Um, yeah, always raising my hand to do more things, just like things that may be like above my level, like, oh, can I try this out? Can I, like when I was an intern, like, oh, can I sit on this like briefing call with you and like see how it is? Can I take a stab at this press release? Just like learning more things as I progressed and just being constantly curious about things and making sure that I'm just constantly progressing.
I don't hear you, Adriana.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was just me, but yeah. Okay, I hear you now, I think. No.
I'm so sorry. I don't remember what the last question she asked was.
I think the Megan just talked about the differences between like in-house and agency and the teams.
Okay, so I think it was what are the benefits to going to an agency first? Was that right? Oh, I see. Never mind. I found it. Okay. So this question is for both of you. Ray, what are the key must-have or good-to-have qualities for someone looking to pursue a career in agency? And Megan, what are must-have qualities for someone going in-house? Let's start with Ray.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Paul, for just jumping in and helping. I know that these things can have a lot of technical difficulties. So
that
I appreciate
definitely
it.
happens sometimes. You just got to roll with the punches, right?
Yeah, definitely. I would say some must-have or good-to-have qualities for agency life is definitely communication and just being able to like communicate on your things. I think there's so many things happening with all your different clients and other things that it's really good to be over communicative with your teams and what you're doing and if you need help or if any deadlines shift or change, just for that. I also think, I know I just talked about this feedback a little bit, but making sure that you are really ready to receive feedback and also give feedback in meaningful ways, just so it can be helpful. And I would also say that relationship building is a really must-have quality. I think we're always building relationships with our teams. I always say that being in a PR agency feels like every day is a group project, and it really is. Like we're all a team getting things done together. So with your team and like with media, and with your clients, it's just really building good relationships with folks.
Yes, and
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that, Ray. And Megan, what are the must-have qualities for someone going in-house?
So I would mimic everything that Ray said. Just the PR fundamentals. The communication is very key. When you work in-house, you have to communicate with people that don't necessarily understand PR, and they're looking at you as a trusted counsel. And so it's overly communicating, putting things in simple terms. They don't understand like the PR marketing jargon, which is really important, but also being able to work alone. So while you have team members and you have your agency teams and all that great stuff, sometimes you're by yourself. And it's a little bit different than when you're in an agency team and you're all collaborating and having one idea. You may get a call from like the CEO or the chief marketing officer asking you on the spot about a question and your advice. And so it's just really important to, be able to have that confidence and be bold in your recommendations, which I think translates a lot to agency as well. But I think that's one of the biggest differences is you don't have a lot of time, and you're going to be put on the spot a lot.
Great, thank you so much. And I think this segues into our next question as well, Megan. What advice would you give someone about deciding when is the right time to transition from agency to in-house?
So I think it all depends on the individual. For me, mine was personal, and I had spent a lot of time at the agency side of things. Where your interest lies. If there's a company that really means a lot to you, a brand, maybe they're doing something with ESG or their values or just overall culture or something that you're interested in, then by all means, go for it. Network with folks, see why they work there, and see what the culture's like. If you're having a great time at the agency, juggling a bunch of different clients in different sectors, and you're enjoying that fast-paced lifestyle, which is so inspiring and just so much adrenaline. I love that about the agency. Then stay, but really kind of look at what you want to do in your career. I always tell people, no one owns your career except you. That's really important. You have to take chances. You have to take risks. But overall, your happiness, your lifestyle, your family, that's all the most important thing. So you have to look at all those different factors and then determine what's right for you. I know people that have been at the agency level 25, 30 years and they love it. And that's awesome. And then I know people who will never go back to the agency or will never go back to in-house because of certain experiences they had. So it's just really kind of looking at what you want to do. Network with people, get a sense of what the company's all about, what internally it looks like, and see if it's a right fit for you. And you own your career. But I think there's benefits of going through both, especially in one's PR career, and having that expertise.
Yeah, I really love that you own your career. I think that's really important, to have in mind. And one of the things that somebody recommended in a past Friday forum was, making a continuous career journal. So I think that's kind of hand in hand with you owning your career. So, on that note, for both of you, I'd like to answer, sorry if I pronounced this wrong, Ermias' question. Do you have any thoughts or advice on how an in-house PR agency experience, especially in tech?
I would say it sounds like in-house PR pro. So you're already in-house and you're looking at possibly getting agency experience. I'm just reading the question again. So I would say network. Go and talk with your agency that you have right now. Go on LinkedIn, find PRSA Silicon Valley and take people out to lunch or, coffee and ask them what you need to do and what they love about their agency to see if the agency is a fit for you. I think moving from in-house to agency has a lot of good benefits because you know what the client wants. You've been on that side before, so you can bring that expertise into your client relationships, and you've been in their shoes. So I think that helps a lot. But take the chance. Like when I went in-house, I actually went down a couple levels and I took a big pay cut. And sometimes you have to do that. And some people would probably say not ever would I do that, but for me, it made sense. And so you have to kind of take those risks. But I would say go for it, meet with the agency, learn who they are, learn the clients, and then make that choice.
Great. Thank you so much. And do you have anything to add to that, Ray?
No, I feel like Megan really summarized it all. I think really connecting with people and going to events like this, like with PRSA Silicon Valley, and just connecting with people, asking them questions and setting up little like coffee dates are really good way to like get that information.
Yeah, and I totally agree as well. Networking is so important no matter what industry or what career you're in. It's such an important part of owning your career. So thank you for bringing that up, Megan. Ray, what's your favorite thing about working at a PR agency? Maybe something that most people would not expect?
Yeah, definitely. I know a lot of people, I think, say about agency, you'll never get bored. I have ADHD, so it's really fun just to be able to like focus on all these different things. But something else that I really love about working agency life is being able to connect the dots with my clients and just help them whenever they do like a joint collaboration. And I work in like gaming and publication, like comics and entertainment. So it's really fun to do kind of joint things with them, or maybe there's an event coming up and you want to pitch a panel, and you get access to all of these different executives and really cool people in the same industry doing the same thing. And it's just really fun to be able to have that direct connection with all these folks and make these things happen. I also really like about agency how we're all just one big like hive mind. It's nice that like, oh, you have a question about something, someone probably did that before, or maybe they like have a better relationship with a reporter or this or that. It's just nice to have such a big network of people and collaborating with folks.
Yeah, I could see how that would be a little bit different in agency versus in-house, because you're working on so many different projects with so many different companies that there's, could be an increase in the amount of knowledge that your coworkers have because of that. So that's an interesting point you bring up. For you, what's your favorite thing about working in-house?
Probably the people and the diversity of professionals and what they do and their expertise. I work with product managers all the time. I work with risk individuals, people with business continuity expertise. A lot of stuff that I do on the crisis side overlaps with those folks. And, I have a lot of friends in PR. It's a big part of my life, obviously. But sometimes I always wonder what other people do for a living. And I'm the person at like the cocktail party that's like, oh, what do you do? And it's not like I don't really care about their title or how much they make. I just really want to know like what other people do for a living. And so I love being in-house because you get that expertise. And like my finance team, I meet with them monthly and we go over the numbers, and they're so different than me, and their life and their daily life is so different. And we have just the best conversations. Just sharing insights into what we're working on. And so I love that part of it because it gets me out of my PR bubble and gets me learning about different industries and different expertises. And that's in data.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that input. Before we hop into our lightning round question, what do you two have to say about the following statement? You must go to agency before you go in-house. Is this true? Why or why not? And can people be successful in an in-house role if they never worked in an agency? Let's start with Megan.
I would say it is not true. I say that it's up to the individual. You can be successful any route you go, as long as you're committed to it. You want to learn, about the industry, about the company. It doesn't matter if you're in an agency or in-house. I think whatever fits your style and where you want to go. But I do think there is a benefit of doing both throughout your career. And I think you learn a lot in both.
Awesome. Ray, what do you think? If you were to go in-house, do you feel that your career in an agency has been a benefit?
Yeah, I definitely appreciate having gone to agency first. It was just the right move for me. For anyone else, just like think about yourself and your own interests. But I think if I go in-house, my agency experience will give me a lot of, like, it really prepared me with all of the PR basics and how to just work in PR. And I think in-house will also have a lot for me to learn.
Great, thank you. And for both of you, what is your best piece of advice for people who are trying to decide if agency or in-house is best for them? Let's start with Megan.
I would go back to, do you believe in the value of the company, right? Do you like the people? Do you feel like you're going to learn? Is that, are they going to do as much for your career? Are you going to bring a lot to the table? Like, you really have to kind of look at what the company stands for, what the people are about, where your values lie, where your interest lies, and make a decision. whether that's a large agency, a small agency, one that's focused on, healthcare, if that's a big thing, or one that's focused on gaming, like Ray works on. I am in the financial services industry, and that is a big interest. And I love what I do, and I love the company that I work for. So that's what keeps me there. It keeps me there because of the people, the collaboration. But really, you need to, don't just go for anything. Really learn about the people in the company, because otherwise you're going to be in a spot where you don't want to be in 6 months, and you'll be disgruntled and want to leave, and that doesn't do anybody a benefit.
Yeah, it's definitely important to enjoy the industry and the company that you work for. So I love that. Ray, what's your input on this question?
Megan, yeah, I really agree with everything that you've said, and I really want to double down on kind of the industry that you're looking at. I went into agency in like the tech industry, and although it was like a minor interest, like I was able to like find passion in it. I knew that my passion more lied in like gaming and entertainment. So looking more towards making sure that like whatever company that you do go towards, that it's something you're truly interested in doing. At least for me, it helps me avoid burnout if I'm doing something in the sector of like I'm like personally interested in these things. But yeah, when deciding between agency and in-house, just reflecting on who you are and what would be best for you. And like would the work that you're doing every single day help fulfill you?
Great. Yeah, I love that. Again, just like Megan said, I totally agree. It's so important to be doing something that you love for a company that you love, because when that passion isn't there, it just, makes it difficult to get up and go to work every day. And sometimes the quality of work, is less because you don't have that passion behind it. So I love that. So if anybody else has any other questions, on any of the platforms that you're watching from, please put them in the comment section so we can address them for you. I do see one here from Judith. What's the value of professional networks to a beginner, and how can a beginner make the most of the connection? Either one of you that wants to jump in.
Yeah, I would say for a beginner, it's really important to network. I think when I started off my career, I only had like one friend in PR who really helped me. And I think going to these PRSA events really helped me too. And just getting different mentors in the industry. And I think scheduling kind of regular check-ins with them to talk about your goals for your career and how you're progressing and how you're doing was really important for me in the beginning of my career.
Great, thank you. And Megan?
I would also say, part of beginning your career, learning about the industry, but things that I do, I subscribe to PR Week and all the different channels. And so I'm in the financial services sector, but I still read the healthcare newsletter. I still read the tech, the whole US, the international one, just because I want to make sure that I'm hearing from all different sectors, and it just interests me. And sometimes I see people move around, and it's great to see them, in other positions or being highlighted in PR Week. But broaden your mind, right? And if you are in gaming, or if you are just strictly in enterprise tech, or like me, financial services, make sure you're looking at what other industries are doing, what other PR professionals are doing, and you can learn a lot from them. And that's why I really value the agency too, because my agency in New York, they're fabulous. They always try to like push us, right? And think outside the box. And they come up with these crazy ideas. And I'm in financial services, and I'm like, that will never work. We're a highly regulated company. And then we'll dumb it down a bit. But I love that about agency and just all their crazy ideas. And sometimes we go with the whole plan, and sometimes half the plan. But I love just learning more about what other companies are doing. And I think it's really important just to get a broader landscape of the PR industry by doing that.
Yeah, and I think that's great advice, because, even though it might not be the same industry, it's still the same job in PR and marketing, and there may be some nuances, but there's a lot of stuff that can be carried over no matter what industry that you're in. So I think that's really good advice to, still be looking at other networking opportunities or other informational opportunities, even if it's not within the same industry that you're in. So we had another question from an anonymous LinkedIn user. Ray, how did you decide which industry within PR to pursue?
For me, I graduated from school in the Bay Area and I really loved living in the Bay Area and I wanted to stay. So most of the agencies I was looking at focused on tech. So I just knew I kind of like had to work in the tech industry since that was what was biggest there. And I found a lot of like really like cool clients that I loved there, but it wasn't really my passion. And thinking about the things that I do like every day, like outside of work, like I'm a gamer, I like love media, um, and just like different popular culture. And my first friend who was in PR worked in-house at a gaming company, and I was really interested in that, and that's what sparked my interest in PR in the first place. So that's when I knew that I wanted to look for other opportunities doing agency work, but in the gaming industry. That's how I went about it.
Great. Yeah. So it kind of sounds like, you looked at what your options were within the region that you wanted to live in and, then kind of asked yourself like, hey, what am I passionate about? Because I mean, every industry needs marketing and PR professionals. So it's like, what do you enjoy most about life, and try to find a position in that industry. What about you, Megan? How did you just decide which industry within PR to pursue?
So I grew up in the Bay Area, in the East Bay, San Ramon. And then I went to school in Arizona, and I graduated in 99, December, so right at the tech boom. And the job market was just amazing here. And I remember my mom saying, come back, live at home, find a job here. There's so many opportunities. And I did for like 6 months until I was out on my own. But everything was just tech. Everything was tech. There was no other option at that point. And it was very enterprise tech and .com tech. And so I didn't really have much of a choice. Those were just the big opportunities. But I like it. I like tech a lot because I think it challenges you. And as a marketer and as a communications professional, you really have to like understand the engineering side and the benefits, and you have to up level that message. So I think there's a lot of great things with tech PR, but for me, it just was practically the only option. Those were the only companies that were hiring, and pretty much still is. I think. I mean, San Francisco, Silicon Valley, it's all pretty much tech. But there's other opportunities with like healthcare and automotive, of course, but it was just predominantly tech.
Great. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we have another question from Judith. Could we talk about stability for beginners and the issue of job hopping after a year or so, especially when there are many jobs around? How does that affect the career long term? Ray, do you want to jump in on this one?
Yeah, I would say I'm much earlier in my career, but I would say for a lot of us, kind of like Zillennials, it seems like the only way to get a pay raise or like that job promotion is to jump to a different agency or just another job. I think sometimes like folks my age will like it's really hard at different companies, like you just like won't get promoted like to your own timeline, and you have to look outside at different companies in order to get that promotion, and it's much easier to negotiate salary and that way, and like a new job title that way. Long term, I think I'm not entirely sure since I'm still very early out in my career, but that's what I've seen happen, and it's not too like I feel like you're just connecting with more and more people and making those connections. You're not leaving anyone with bad blood for, only being there for only so long.
Right. Yeah, and that makes sense. I guess, the message I heard is to the beginners is don't be afraid to switch companies to get that promotion or that, that pay raise that you feel like you deserve. And, if you want to stick to your timeline and your company isn't supporting you, then find what you're looking for elsewhere, because there's a lot of growth in working for, multiple companies or multiple agencies anyways. And Megan, can you comment a little bit on that question as well? Maybe what's your perception of the effect that has on the career long term?
Yeah, so I think things have changed a lot, right? With the pandemic, with the Great Resignation that's happened, people aren't committed to their companies anymore like they used to be, like our parents' generation. And then even when I started back in 2000, it was like, don't leave a company after, give it a year, give it 2 years. And there was times like where I went and left a company after 7 months, and it just didn't work out. And there was another opportunity that came my way and just fit my lifestyle and fit my interests more. So again, you're the only one that owns your career. So I would look at it and be selfish. And if, like, to Ray's point of view, like if you are not getting a promotion and you're not getting a raise and you need to take another opportunity to get that, then go for it. If you love the company you work for and you want to be there for 10, 20 years, then stay. They're giving you opportunities. But, just be selfish. This is your career. This isn't anybody else's. And you need to make sure that you own it. And you communicate to your employer too. I think that's important. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Tell them. There was a time in my career where I went to my boss and I said, I want a promotion. I deserve this. And she said, okay. And I told her everything. And then within 2 days, I got a promotion. She didn't know that I felt that way. She didn't know that I was, frustrated that I was seeing my peers being promoted and I wasn't. She thought everything was happy, like I was all great and stuff. And she even said that. She's like, I'm so glad you told me. So you have to, like, give people the benefit of the doubt, tell them, express that. If you really like it. And I really like the company. And I really like my boss. And so I felt, you know what, I'm going to just tell her how I feel. And she turned it around within 2 days. And I'll never forget that because, we preach and we tell, especially women, you have to ask for those raises. You have to ask for those promotions. And I wasn't doing it. And I'm like, what the heck am I doing? I need to tell my boss this. And it happened. So I would encourage people just to be bold, tell people in your company, your boss, your mentors, what you want, and see what will happen. Because what's the worst that'll happen? You don't get it? Okay, but at least you asked. So that would be my recommendation.
Right. I love that. Stay true to yourself, and communication is key. And I think, again, it comes down to that networking piece as well that we've talked about quite a few times, is because if you have a good network and good relationships with the people that you work with, it makes those kind of conversations easier to have. So on that note, I think this one would be more for you, Megan. What's the biggest hurdle in transitioning to in-house?
I would say timesheets. I was really crazy about timesheets because I had to, like, report every week to certain clients, like where we were with budget. And so I was always on my team, get those timesheets in. And so everything was like within 15-minute and 30-minute increments, right? And when you're in house, you don't have to think about that. And it sounds so crazy, but it was such a big challenge for me because I'm like, okay, with 30 minutes, I have this to do and this. And I'm like, wait, no, I can think a little bit more differently. And so I'm not too time constrained. So that was one. And then I'll tell you a story. When I started in-house at my first job, my boss at the time, and it was still a mentor of mine, I asked him what success was like how is success in this role? And I was a manager of product, PR manager. And he said, you take something, so maybe it's a news item, maybe it's an idea, and you communicate it out to everybody else. So what he meant was, like, you communicate it to the social media team, to the paid media team, to the internal team, to the exec comms team, whatever it may be, and make sure that they know what you're doing so they could take what you have and put it on their channels or refine it enough for their channels. So when you think about PR, you think about a news release, but how can you turn that into, like, an internal comms piece and have employees look at it? Or how can the executives be at a conference next week and talk about that news piece? And so one of the biggest things I learned was that it's just not just PR, right? It's a piece of content that can go multiple directions. And you have a team within you that can take that, use their expertise and put it on their channels. And sometimes they may not even use it, but it's really important that you you look at what you can do with content internally. I hope that makes sense, but that was a big thing I learned.
Awesome. Thank you for that input. And moving on to the next question, because I think, Ray, I'm so sorry I jumped in kind of at the last minute here. You're in an agency, right? You're not.
Yeah, I'm at an
in-house?
agency. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. We'll direct this question towards you, Ray. What was your perception of PR before you joined the industry, and how has that changed over time?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't really know too much about PR before I joined the industry. Like throughout college, I didn't really think about PR at all. And it was really only after graduating that I kind of looked into it because one of my best friends was doing PR. So I really didn't know too much about PR versus like what you see in like shows of like crisis management or just different things that they do. I think over time I've realized it's just a lot of relationship building and helping, have people who are interested in something be connected with the companies who are doing these things and like connecting cool things with cool people. That's how I like to think about it a lot. It's just like, yeah, fun. We're all in this community together and just getting the word out there.
Great, thank you. Connecting cool things with cool people. That's cool. I like that a lot. And Megan, what's your input on this question?
I didn't really know much about PR until I got into classes at school. I had an advertising and PR major, so advertising was kind of my big thing. But then I learned more about PR and thought, this could be a really good career, just overall in communications. And that's kind of how it happened. I didn't really know much about the industry itself. I was a PRSSA member my last year in college, so I went to a conference and learned a little bit more, but it just seemed like a fun career. And everybody needs PR, right? So if it's a big large oil company, a big large healthcare company, or a small business that just needs to get the word out, everybody can use it. And so I thought that was really attractive to me, that there's multiple opportunities within the industry. That's kind of how I looked at it.
Great. Yeah, kind of like we were saying earlier, it's like there's plenty of PR jobs in every industry out there, so you can kind of work in whatever industry you like or whatever industry you're passionate about. Do you guys have any recommended books or tools for crisis communications?
I took a course through PRSA on crisis a couple of years ago, and it was a 12-week course and did it online. That really helped, just kind of learning and refining some of the basics. I haven't read any books on crisis comms, but I read this, a colleague of mine that I've worked with in the past on crisis communications had this blog post on LinkedIn the other day. And I thought it was really interesting. And he brought in a lot of his personal insights and how he was raised, and his mother going to the hospital when he was young and having to overcome like adversity and living with his aunt and uncle, and having to find a job at 14 and help his mom find an apartment. Like, it was really just very inspiring to see what he is now. And so it's just like you look at everything in your life, and especially over the past couple of years, like we've been through hell and back, right? All of us in our own story and our own ways, but we've all dealt with a crisis. And we have crises in our lives all the time, whether it's, we wreck our car, or something happens to our house that we need to repair, or a relationship that's going sour. I mean, there's always something, right? And so you really look at like your personal life and how you manage that, and how you can manage it within like a business, right? And setting. And it's not apples to apples, but if you think about it like that, we all overcome adversity, and we're all trying to be great in our lives. And look at what you do in your personal life and how you've overcome some of the obstacles and challenges, and see, like, take that mindset or take that as inspiration to what you do when it's a crisis in your organization.
Awesome. Thank you. Do you have anything to add, Ray? I noticed that you kind of perked up when I said books. So do you have any books on crisis communications you can recommend?
Oh no, I was just thinking I should get books on it though. I haven't read any books, but I have been through a crisis, as we all have. I think, yeah, I haven't taken a course or read books, but definitely learning while you're in the thick of it is very important. And I think having a debrief afterwards with your team about it too, of like, okay, what went wrong, like what can we do better for like future crises, and maybe when you're not in a crisis and no crisis has happened, just connecting with your PR mentors or just other colleagues about what's a time that you had a crisis and how you worked with it. I would just have those stories and like listen to people's stories about it to see how to best do things. But yeah.
Great. Thank you both for that input. Megan, what technical or tangible skills are essential for a PR role? And what's the best way for someone early in their career to learn those skills?
I would say writing is very important, and the way you communicate um, to anybody, whether that's your staff, that's your executive, that's your internal or external clients. And just making sure that you get rid of like the jargon and you kind of tell it like it is and you have clear business writing. One of the things that I found helpful over the past couple of years is Grammarly. I have that up all the time and I use it. Every single piece of communication, I use it. It doesn't matter who it's to. And it has like just improved my writing overall, taking out like those adjectives and those words like very, much and stuff like that. And just being a clearer writer has helped, and will help you communicate. So I think that's probably one of the biggest skills. Public speaking is big. I'll be the first to admit I'm not a great public speaker. I'm kind of like the bad or the hairdresser with bad hair. I, will counsel executives and so forth to do public speaking, but it's just not something that I'm that interested in. But I'm a good coach, I'd like to think. Um, but I think just communication skills, whether that's verbal or written, just really perfect those and, have people proofread your stuff. Read out loud your emails or your press releases, hear how they say or how they read. Those are essential. And I just think having a broad mind and being able to be vulnerable at work and be able to learn from others and be open-minded is really important. Everybody has a point of view. Everybody has an opinion. So listen, because it'll only make you better. And I think that's really important.
Great. Thank you. Do you have anything to add, Ray?
Yeah, I fully agree, Megan, on all of the things that you listed. I also use Grammarly. I love it so much. Really do use it. Like you can use it on email too and Slack. It's not just like when you're in Google Docs. It's very helpful. I would add on another skill that I've found very helpful for me. I do a lot of measurement and reporting, so I think just going a little bit into data analytics and being able to show kind of the success of different campaigns that you've done and news coverage, like share of voice and sentiment and all of that, and being able to package that into an actual story that you're able to share with the different executives, just to understand it a little bit better, is really important as well.
Awesome. Thank you. And Ray, a question for you. Are you thinking about your long-term career goals, like starting to think that you should have a career plan and how to get there? When do you think it's time to think about that and make career decisions, not just job decisions?
For me, my long-term career goals, I, for right now, really want to stay in agency. And I think since the beginning, it's really important to me to make like a lot of different types of goals of different timelines. So I make like a 3-month goal and a 6-month goal. I think in the beginning years of my career, I did like kind of a monthly goal of where I wanted to be. But I think I have like my current job description and like what I'm doing, and then my next one, like my bigger career plan. And I just like, okay, here are like the skill sets I need for like later on in my career. What are the smaller steps I can take to get there? What are my different objectives and key results? Also making it like measurable of like, okay, I'm gonna like lead this many like projects or like get this many exclusives or do this or that. I think like breaking it down into things that are really tangible goals that I can work on immediately really helped me in the bigger scheme of my career goals.
Awesome. Thank you. It sounds like you have a really structured approach and have put a lot of thought into that. It sounds like you're very good at goal setting. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I think that's it for all of the questions. We had a pretty active community today. So thank you for everybody that signed in from the social media platforms and asked all of these helpful questions today. I really appreciate you, Megan and Ray, for joining us and having this conversation. I'm going to go ahead and bring back Karen so that she can do our outro and see if she has anything else to add. So thank you again for your time today. And thank you for everybody working through the technical issues that we were having. I'm sure we've all been there in this new working from home age. So I'm glad that I was presentable and could turn my camera on and jump in. So yeah, back to you, Karen.
Paul, you were very presentable always. Never forget that. So I just want to I want to thank all our guests today. I think there was so much to be received out of this information. I hope everybody's got something that they can take with them. And again, thank you to our audience for your questions, your great questions. We do this for you. If you are interested in joining the PRSA of Silicon Valley, please check us out on LinkedIn or Facebook. And join us next week as well. We have got a great show all about elevating ESG impact through strategic partnerships. Our guest comes from Hotwire PR, and we're going to be talking about whether it's climate change or social justice. The role that business plays in these topics is becoming more and more relevant, as are alliances. So stay tuned for that. We'll be posting a link to that very soon, later this week. That's it, everyone. So have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next Friday. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, y'all.